Hey you guys, it's Jojo Manzanita. Today I wanted to come with you guys with a little bit of drama, story time. I don't like sharing a lot about what happens with my family. I know that there's problems and things like that in every family, and I don't like to be the one sharing things that I feel like it's not my place in a way. Dealing with something so hard. It's like it's been 30 years and till those years I wasn't even living, so I didn't exist. I think I've had enough and I've gotten to my breaking point. I don't know how long they were planning to have this last, but obviously an entire lifetime. My mom has been dealing with so much things. It's been 30 years. I've been trying to record this video over and over again, and I don't know the right way to do it, if there is a right way. And I'm really sick and tired. And I know that most likely my dad's gonna get a phone call because guess what? Whenever you do something that these Christian fanatics don't agree with, all of a sudden we exist and my dad starts getting a bunch of phone calls. Not one of those phone calls ever ask him, hey, how are you doing? I thought of you today. I was praying. I had you on my mind. No, it's like, hey, your kids did this and that.
Well, your daughter did this. Well, your daughter did that. Well, your son did this. Well, your son did that.
But whenever you do something good or something, you don't exist. When you do something amazing, you don't exist to anybody. But the second that you do something that you think is right, or even if it's wrong and you know, and they don't agree with, they'll call my dad because all of a sudden we exist to them. My mom has been dealing with harassment for 30 years. And I don't know if it's because she's the second wife of my dad. I understand that in relationships, the couple, both of them have faults. I think my dad's fault was that he let himself get cheated on, or he continued the relationship and forgave the lady after being cheated on. And it's none of my business. That's relationships are to each their own. You handle it the way you think it's best. Sometimes people stay in relationships. I don't know why they stay there, but they decide to, and that's none of my business. But it happens. My mom has been dealing with harassment for the past 30 years. For the past 30 years, I feel like nobody has defended her the way they should. I feel like a bad daughter because even though my mom tried to stand in my way and paint a beautiful rainbow for me and tell me that everything was fine and that it wasn't the way I saw it, it was exactly the way I saw it. A lot of Christian fanatics pointing fingers and judging her and mistreating her and humiliating her for 30 years. But in front of the pulpit, they stand like they're the most holy. They preach to this congregation saying that they should, love one another. They preach love. They preach so many things. And this isn't against Christians, because I understand that there is real believers in God. The most amazing person that I admire for that, not only my mom, but my dad, he's always been serious about the Word of God. And as much as it frustrated me when I was young, and I felt like, oh my God, my dad is so uncool, and sometimes I felt embarrassed. Let's be honest. This is an honest channel. As much as I felt embarrassed about being Christian because everybody looked at me like the weird one, the one that would wear long skirts, because yes, at one time, I wasn't allowed to wear makeup. I wasn't allowed to wear earrings. I wasn't allowed to dress in pants because a lot of people believed that it was a sin. We had to wear long skirts, but that's not what we're talking about here. It would make me mad. It would embarrass me to say that I was Christian. But what embarrassed me the most is what kind of people I was surrounded by. People who pretended to be something, and behind everyone else, they were something else completely. I feel like the worst daughter because I never stood up and defended my mom the way she needed me to. Maybe I was just a kid, part of that time. But when I had knowledge and I saw everything that was going on, even though my mom would tell me, no, mija, you respect. You do this, you do that. She told me right from wrong. But comes a time where any kid that grows up into an adult gets tired. I told my mom to give up today because it was 30 years. It's not time for her to deal with this anymore. And her dealing with it was always still being respectful and trying to win people over. But when do you stop? When do you give up? When do you decide to just let it rest and give it to God? And when do your kids decide, or when is it your turn to decide, hey, no, my mom doesn't deserve that. It's time to defend my mom. I never stood up because I felt like it wasn't my place. Because I was painted with something in front of me all the time that said, no, that's fine. No, it's not the way you're seeing it. But even though as a kids, you can't lie to kids. They grow up and they realize the truth. They're not dumb. All my life I knew what was going on, and I never said anything. I never talked about it because I felt like I was in the place to it, and I felt like I owed everyone respect because my mom would teach me that. That's what she taught me. I grew up with the most amazing parents. I did. Parents who taught me to respect. Parents who taught me that the world was a beautiful place. A place that started breaking apart for me. We have another recording, and for my mom, for respect to my mom, I'm not gonna post it because this clip is a lot worse. It's a recording that someone close to us gave us. When he saw it, he was stunned himself. But that's the thing. Whenever something like this happens, there's nobody that says, hey, this is wrong. But whenever we here do something that is wrong, all of a sudden the phone calls that come in, it sounds like a phone call center here. All of a sudden everybody's calling my dad. All of a sudden we all exist. We grew up without no one, just with my parents. And one day we thought that was fine. One day we said, hey, it's okay. We don't need something we've never had. When you don't have something, you don't miss it. Like when you've never had something, you never miss it. It's like if I never had a bike. For most of my life, I actually didn't have a bike. I don't miss it. It's cool to have one. I've had one, and sadly I never used it, so I gave it to my sister. Anyways, judge me, and it's fine. I don't care who judges me for this. And maybe it's a wrong to do this video. Maybe it's not. I don't know. And there's gonna be a lot of people that are gonna probably call my dad because of this video. Because like, hey, how dare your daughter? Because all of a sudden all exists to them. But that's just it. You only exist then. Where have you been all my life? Where have you been so many times when we needed something? Nobody was there. When my sister was in trouble, nobody was there. When my brother had the car accident, nobody was there. But all of a sudden you're there in our worst times just to make it even more worse. We're born alone, we die alone. We only need God and the people that we grew up with, because those are the ones that are real. Hold the people that have always been real to you close, because those are the people that are worth it. The people that make you feel valuable. The people that sometimes we take for granted are the people that will always be there. Not the people that are there for 5 minutes. Not the people that come and use you. Because whenever they need my dad, they come and use him. When my dad needs somebody's help, nobody. You hear crickets. I'm not saying only God can judge me. Anybody can judge me, and that's fine. What matters is what I think about myself. And I ask God to forgive me for anything if I've offended anyone, because that's not my point. That is not my point. My point is there's so many people out there pretending to be something they're not, pretending to be everything for a testimony, everything for an appearance, and they're nothing but wolves. And I believe that there's things that I have done wrong. Nobody's perfect, and that's not me saying it's an excuse. I pray to God that He helps me not only forgive, but forgive myself, because the biggest blame is on me. I've done so much wrong. I know I've only been alive for those 28, almost 29 years of those 30 years. But I feel like not only have I sinned, but I've rebelled, and I've done so many other things that are against what my parents have taught me because of what I've seen. But that's not my business. My business is with God. And I'm trying to find myself, and I'm trying to ask God to help me and give me wisdom and to forgive me and to have mercy on me, because that's what we should all be doing. We all have something that we've done wrong. We all have sins. We all have things that we've messed up on. But it's our time to just stand up and say, hey, stand our ground. Look at what we have done and move forward. Say, God, I'm sorry. And I will continue. Give me wisdom to deal with everything. Give me wisdom to continue with my life. And help me. Give me strength to forgive those who have hurt me. And if I have insulted them, forgive me. Because we're not any better than anybody else. I told you my story, and I'm not better than anybody. I'm not better than anybody who has ever humiliated me or my mom or my family. We're not better than one another. This here is flesh. We've done so much wrong. And I'm not saying I'm a holy. No, I'm not. I'm far from that. I know right from wrong because my parents have taught me. And I've gone a lot of times against what they said. I've had to cry a few days ago that I told Morning, I'm like, hey, it's going to take me some time to get home. I need to cry something out. And I sat there in my car and I said, God, I've done so much things that are wrong. I've done so much knowing right from wrong. I've done so much wrong. And I asked Him to forgive me. I asked Him because forgiveness from you and God, like God forgiving you is personal. It's nothing. I cried my heart out because there's so many things that I have been going through. There's so much hurt. God knows everything. God has been stirring my pot. Nobody knows what's in the pot unless you stir it. And God has been stirring my pot, and He knows everything. He knows me. And I'm not trying to preach anybody. I'm not trying to push some religion again to anybody. I'm telling you about each and in our own life, in our own personal life. We know what we have done wrong. Like, what you do is your choice. But my choice was to ask forgiveness because I have done so much wrong. I've hurt my own self so many times. God knows what I'm talking about. I'm not going to sit here and talk about details. I ask Him for forgiveness, and I thank my mom because He told me, hey, sometimes God is waiting for you to ask Him for forgiveness. And that hit me. That hit me so, like it penetrated my heart, and I'm like, yeah, you're right. And I sat there and asked God for forgiveness that day coming from work. And I felt like something was lifted on my chest, but I'm not kidding you. It was an hour and a half that I was crying. That I needed to get it off my chest when someone came over and said, hey, you want to go for a drive? And I said, yeah, I do. And we went to In-N-Out, and it was great. But I felt like something was lifted off me. Anyways, this was my video to you guys. I hope you guys get what builds you up and not what breaks you down. All right, God bless you. Bye.